pricing your products on Teachers Pay Teachers can be a little stressful, but it is a big part of a customer's buying decision. So you want to make sure that you are using best practices. And I actually have a freebie for you guys. If you want a free pricing guide, head to lindsaybowden.com/price. That's lindsaybowden.com/PRICE. You can download that guide, print it out as you are working. It's going to really help you. But in this episode, I'm going to be talking about some general guidelines for pricing. Now, pricing varies greatly depending on your niche, your grade level, your subject matter. And so one of the most important things with pricing is market research. What that means is you want to try to find products that are similar to your product that you want to upload and find a good happy medium. So you don't want to price well above similar products and you don't want to price way under. You may think, well, if I price way under, people will buy it because mine is the cheapest. But cheaper is not always better. If someone were to go and search for, let's say that you are uploading 5th grade ELA activities. If someone searches 5th grade ELA activities and you have something for $1 and everyone else's is $3, they might think to themselves, the customer, well, why is that person so cheap? It must not be that high quality or it must not have that much stuff. So you want to kind of have a happy medium right in the middle of similar products. Now, I know it's not always easy to find similar products, but just try to do the best you can to find similar products. Another mistake I see people making is they try to price based on how long it took them to create the product, which I totally understand, because if you are going to be spending your precious time to make resources, you want to get adequately paid, as you should. However, you got to think about the big picture here. Let's say that you spend 3 hours creating a $3 resource. So in your mind, you spent 3 hours, someone pays you $3, you're making $1 per hour. Not worth it, right? However, your resource isn't going to just sell one time if it's high quality. It's going to sell over and over and over and over again. So those 3 hours that you spent could potentially make you thousands of dollars. So you don't want to price it based on the time you spent to make it one time. You want to think about bigger picture and how can you price it in such a way that it's going to sell multiple times so that you're making, literally, you can make thousands of dollars per hour if you're thinking about it per hour. All right, so let's talk about some best practices. Now, with Teachers Pay Teachers and their fees, there is a transaction fee for carts that are less than $3. So that means if someone goes to check out and they just have one or more resources that total less than $3, then you are going to get charged a 15-cent transaction fee. So one way to try to not have that transaction fee is obviously to have resources that are $3 or more most of the time. However, having dollar resources could be a good strategy. It's almost like having free resources, but they're a little bit more in depth or more high quality. A free resource might be, although I could go into a whole episode about having really high quality free resources. Maybe I'll talk about that next, but let's finish talking about this. You can have dollar resources, but for the most part, try to have resources that are worth $3 or more. Now, that doesn't mean just uploading a worksheet and saying, well, it needs to be $3. I'm going to put $3 on there. That's not going to sell. No one wants a worksheet for $3. Okay. You want resources that have the amount of quality and the amount of pages to be worth $3. So when you are thinking and planning for resources, I do see a lot of newer sellers are like, oh, I can make all these coloring pages and I'm going to list each one for $1. Think bigger. Think, how can I make things worth $3? First of all, I wouldn't start with coloring pages because anyone can make those for free. There's tons of free coloring page websites out there. Now even AI can make that. You want to think higher quality. What can AI not make? What are you an expert in? What's your content area? Even if it's preschool. Preschool, there are strategies and methods for teaching, letter sounds, for teaching all kinds of things in preschool. So you want to use your expertise as an educator. That's why I am really passionate about educators uploading to TPT, because you have the content knowledge and the experience to make those high quality resources that AI can't touch. So you want to make resources that are high quality enough to be worth $3 or more. However, let's talk about freebies and $1 resources. I really believe that having high quality freebies are so important because there are tons of freebie seekers on TPT. And I get it. I was one of those when I was in the classroom. Teachers don't make a lot of money, so they're going to TPT and they're automatically selecting the free filter. And if you don't have anything free or anything high quality for free, those people are never going to find you. And I truly believe that a lot of times people find my high quality free resources and they see how good they are and they're like, okay, well, this is actually worth money. I want to go to her store and see what she has. And then they spend money in my store because I listed something so high quality for free. Now, should you have tons and tons of free things? No, but I would have probably 5 high quality resources, and I just kind of pulled that number out. I don't like to give people like set rules, but I would have 5 in different categories so that you can find a lot of different buyers. So for me, my notes and worksheets are my biggest seller. So obviously I'm going to have a really high quality notes and worksheet set for free. And then I have activities that sell really well. So I'm going to have a free high school math activity for free. So just having those really good free resources are important. And then a lot of people, they will pay $1 to try something out. I still want those to be high quality. So I have several dollar resources. For me personally, my dollar resources are a maze, and then I have the digital version of that maze. So it's a printable and a digital maze for $1. And those sell really well. And I believe that people find those and then go on to buy other things because they see the quality. Another thing to think about for bigger resources that may be worth more than 3, there is a filter on TPT that says under 5. So if your resource is more than 3, but you think maybe it's less than 10, consider making it like $4.50. I don't like the 99. We'll talk about that next, like $4.99, but consider making it under 5. Not all of them, but just enough so that when people use that under $5 filter, they're finding your resources. You want enough resources on the lower end and in the free end so that people that are using those filters find you and then potentially become repeat buyers. Now, of course, if you are listing a unit or curriculum, you're not going to list it under $5. I have curriculums for $300 and then $325, but I use bundles for those. Let's pause and talk about the 99-cent thing, and then we'll talk about bundles. This is kind of like a psychology thing, and I feel like a lot of people are using $4.99, $3.99. They're using the 99 pricing in their store, and I get that because there is psychology behind using 9s and 7s in pricing. So I get it. And in my resources that are outside of TPT, like my courses, I do use 9 and 7 a lot. However, on TPT, it's just not as common. Like most people are using whole number prices or like $4.50 or $5. So 50-cent prices or whole number prices. And the 99, it just isn't as common. So to me, it just looks a little spammy. It looks out of place. So I don't recommend using 99-cent pricing. I recommend if it's $4.99 and you're trying to get that under $5, do $4.50. I think that's fine. I think 50 cents is fine, but I wouldn't do $4.99. All right, now let's talk about bundles. So bundles are a great way to get those higher ticket items, and I highly recommend using the bundle tool on TPT because visually TPT shows buyers how much they're saving, and psychologically that really entices people to buy. Just think about when you go, I don't know if you guys shop at Kohl's, they always have sales going on all the time, and they have these like digital price cards on top of their racks of clothes that show like this is what it was, but this is the sale price. And when I see that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm saving so much money. Let me rack up my Kohl's cash. And so psychologically seeing that the full price marked out and then your bundle price, your sales price there, and it's even in red, so it's like the eye goes there. It's so important. Now, as far as pricing bundles, I use either 10 or 20% off, and TPT makes it really easy. When you go to do the bundle tool, you can select the resources in there. It'll show you what the total price is, and then you can select the discount. I think 20% off is standard. For some of my bigger resources, I did 10% off, but I think 10 or 20% off is totally fine. Now, let's talk about price per page, because a lot of people ask me, well, how much should I charge per page? There are some kind of like guidelines for that. There used to be this big guideline of 10 cents per page. And honestly, some people are saying that's completely out. I don't know if it's completely out because there are so many established sellers that are kind of using that. And so if you are newer and you want to get into that, this is specifically for lower elementary, like pre-K, K, first, second, third, maybe 10 cents per page for like worksheet bundle packs. I am still seeing that that's pretty standard. I'm not saying you have to do that, but remember the market research piece. If you have 100 pages and you are priced well above everyone else that has 100 pages, who are they going to buy from? Especially if you're new and you don't have any reviews yet. So Something to think about, because elementary resources typically are faster to create than like a higher content middle school or high school area. That's just what I've seen. For me personally, I have really content heavy high school math resources. So I am making graphs and figures and they have to all be accurate. So I price my notes and worksheets at 50 cents per page and they sell really well. So I'm going to stick to that. But there isn't really like a set in stone, you have to do this per page. Instead of thinking per page, I would just do market research and see if you can find something similar and go from there. For activities like task cards, games, centers, I typically see around $3. That's a great way to get bundles. So make a bunch of activities and bundle them all together and then get that higher ticket price. All right, that is pretty much it as far as pricing goes. Remember, I do have that free pricing guide. You can head to lindsaybowden.com/price to get that, and I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.